Hey guys, November 21st. As you're gonna hear from this video, my tent is shaking quite a bit. So let's backtrack to the 19th. I did a video in the morning, woke up to the rain. In the video I had decided to stay put. A few minutes after the video, I noticed the rain kind of stopped. I looked outside. I made a judgment call about getting on the road. It's just about that discipline of just getting on the road, getting out of my sleeping bag in the morning kind of deal. As you can imagine, it's a psychological barrier of being in a nice warm sleeping bag and then having to get out into the cold, because of course it's because basically, sorry, I lost track of my thought for a second there, because I don't go to bed in the clothing that I ride in, and so that means that every night I strip down to my sleeping wear, and then in the morning, after everything is cold from a cold night, I have to strip out of my sleeping gear into my riding gear, which is of course quite cold. I mean, it warms up quick enough at this stage anyways, but as you can imagine, it's just that psychological barrier of getting into cold clothing in the morning. Anyways, I made a judgment call to make a break for it. I did post a quick photo, and I made a mention that I had a flat tire that I needed to deal with, and there was a gas station about 10 kilometers down the road, and I thought that would be the perfect place to deal with this flat tire. A few people asked, like, don't you bring a pump and this and that, and it's like, oh, of course I do. But these skinny tires, they're such a pain to get off their wheels. I don't know whoever designed these tires. They need to re-engineer these things. But you know, trying to remove a tire off of a wheel, you're obviously barehanded. You can't wear gloves. It's a huge fight to get it off, and then a huge fight to get it on. By the time the whole process is done, your hands will be frozen in this kind of weather. So I sure as heck don't want to do that unnecessarily, especially when I can walk into the gas station and warm up. Not to mention, it gave me a chance to throw some of my clothing. They let me dry some of my clothing while I did fix this flat tire. It actually ended up saved my butt. My bike pump actually broke at the gas station. And it's like, now what do I do? Because I'm an hour and a half from the closest city to get a new bike pump. I would have had to pay someone to drive me all the way to Gander and then all the way back. And this guy says, you having a problem or whatever? And I said, yeah, my pump just broke. And he pops out of his car, he goes to his trunk, and he pulls out a car pump, plugs it into his car, and I was able to pump up my tire. So, man, if I had done that at my campsite, it would have been whatever, you just deal with it, but I'm not sure how exactly I would have dealt with it on the Trans-Canada with a flat tire and no bike pump. But anyways, like I said, it gave me a chance to warm up after I changed my tire and get something to eat at the gas station. And by the time it was all said and done, the weather kind of improved. Like, there was no breeze. There's no rain. Because, I should backtrack. Once I did decide to, make a break for it, I pack up all my stuff, and, I get out of my tent to have a look at my tire situation, and sure enough, it starts to rain again. So all my gear is packed up in the tent. I'm outside, it's raining, so I spent some time just standing in the trees just going, man, this sucks. But there was a break again, and so packed up the tent and then packed up the bike, and yeah, by the time I got on the road, yeah, like I said, the rain had stopped. Anyways, so I ended up making a decision to actually pedal into the dark on the 19th. I mean, like I said, there was no breeze. The temperatures were above freezing, and I was feeling good. So I think I did 40 kilometers, which got myself into Terra Nova National Park. So I found a service road off to the side. So I set up camp there, I think around 7 p.m., I guess. Anyways, so then yesterday morning, woke up. Of course, it was a little bit chilly, not too bad. Took down the tent and everything, took down camp. Yeah, yesterday was, I mean, it was overcast yesterday. There was a tiny breeze, but all things considering, it was, well, the only thing was, yeah, sorry, it's kind of the memories come back to you. Most of my gear was pretty wet because by the time I got to Terra Nova, the rain had, not rain, but it was light drizzle rain, but by the time after a few hours, yeah, everything was kind of pretty wet. Like, it was kind of, it's sort of surreal. I mean, other tourists, like bike cyclists, they can, or bike tourists, touring guys, they can relate to it, but, you know, you're just sitting in your tent, in your sleeping bag, and you're completely surrounded by wet gear and wet clothing, and, I mean, it's just a shaking your head situation, but, you know, whatever. So, woke up, Terra Nova, broke camp, and there's a there was a Mary Brown's chicken restaurant and gas station about 10-15 kilometers down the road. So that worked out perfect. Basically, took out all my wet gear and sort of draped it over my chairs and whatnot, and spent a few hours there. It actually didn't. I don't know, it's really weird because even last night I was trying to dry out gear indoors. I don't know if it's because nobody's turned their heater on yet, their furnace on yet, but the gear is not drying that quickly, even inside. So after a few hours at this Mary Brown's chicken place, it's like, okay, enough is enough. I got to get down the road. And they're calling for some pretty rough weather the next few days. So there's the town of Gambo. It just sort of made sense to pull into there because, like I said, I'm not really sure. Well, I mean, you can hear from the tent. Things are blowing. Yeah, the wind's blowing. So anyways, pulled into Gambo. Ends up there's this bar here, and they let people, cyclists or whatever, set up tents behind there. So I'm actually right on the river. I'll have to post a photo shortly or whatever of the river. Yeah, I hung out in the bar for a few hours till like 11 o'clock. They closed a bit early because I was like their only customer. Yeah, no, I even had like my clothes all draped still from being damp. They didn't want to dry out very much. My tent was just soaked last night, just soaked. And by this morning, I mean, it was actually dry because the wind picked up and the wind just, yeah, dried it out completely. But then it didn't take long, and now it's raining again. So my tent is starting to get wet, just like on the tarp part, like the fly. So it's actually pretty good, but, you know, it's supposed to rain all day. So I'm guessing by the end of the day, the tent will be a little bit wet again. So anyways, I'm just sort of, the bar doesn't open till 12, and there's a grill down the street that doesn't open till 12, and it's not quite that now, so I'm just sort of chilling in my sleeping bag, staying warm, debating what to do for the next day or two. Gander, I think, is maybe about 50 kilometers away, maybe a little less, but there's a few things I need to get my bike pump replaced and whatnot. I would love a shower. I really would. I would love a shower, and I need to do a laundry. But there is a bed and breakfast here in town, but I'm trying to be reasonable with my finances. I don't know how much it would cost to go there, because I think there's also a truck stop in Gander where I could take advantage of a shower and laundry services there, which would be a fraction of the price. So, you know, it's about toughing it out. There was a part of me that an hour ago kind of wanted to just bolt, and that's my tendency, is just to bolt. But I realize that sometimes I have to just be a little bit wise about what I'm going to do next. And I think maybe the fact that I didn't bolt an hour or so ago is probably a good decision. Just if you can hear I'm sure you can hear the tent flapping in the wind. If it's flapping this hard with my tent, you can imagine trying to cycle through it. It'd be a pointless exercise, pretty much walking in the rain with a very, very heavy bike and whatnot. So anyways, so that's kind of the deal. I guess I'm not going anywhere today at this moment. They're calling for snow tomorrow. Well, it's supposed to be snowing right now, but I think the temperatures are too warm for snow. And so it's rain, and I don't know if the temperatures are going to get cold enough for snow tomorrow either. So yeah, I really don't know what I'm going to do, but I mean, it's all good. I mean, it is what it is. This is what I signed up for. It's just that transition of the world of making decisions that you're confident about, and then making decisions of, oh crap, I probably shouldn't have done this, and now I'm kind of exposed. Not necessarily exposed in a bad way, but when you're, when you're soaked and wet and it's freezing, not a good thing to be, not a good position to be in. Anyways, I just noticed my low battery came on, so probably a good place to end this. But yeah, so I just wanted to do another quick update on my situation. All right, later. Thanks, and thanks for all the support and encouragement and whatnot. Appreciate it. Okay, later. Bye.